Two countries, one border, but life couldn't be any more different. Mexico and the United States. Neighbors on the map, but worlds completely apart in family, freedom, crime, corruption, religion, and money. Everything you think you know, completely forget it. Most of it's wrong. Some call one country chaotic, the other one perfect. But the truth, it's messy, it's shocking, and some of it's a little bit uncomfortable. I've lived in both worlds. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm gonna show you the real truth. So hold on to your sombrero, because this one's gonna get real intense, deep, and completely controversial. Come join us today. If you haven't already and you enjoy this type of content, go ahead and hit the like button and the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Thanks so much. 4 years later, after living in beautiful Cabo San Lucas, I'm never looking back. I love this place. Every day is a new adventure. Hello, my name is James from Fearless in Cabo. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I've lived in Cabo San Lucas since August 1st, 2022. Not quite 4 years, but 3.5 years. And if I'm brutally honest, this is paradise out here. I absolutely love it out here. Is it actually cheaper day by day? No, it's not. Mexico is not cheaper. Predominantly the rest of Mexico, yes, it's gonna be cheaper anywhere else in the United States. Cabo, definitely not. Cabo is probably going to be more expensive unless you're coming from an expensive state like California or New York or someplace on the East Coast. But predominantly it is the most expensive state to live in all of Mexico. There's 32 states, and I live in Baja California Sur, and I'm about 15 miles north of Cabo San Lucas in a beautiful subdivision called Rolling Hills Estate. I'm building my dream house overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And it's always been my lifelong dream to build a home overlooking the Pacific, and I chose Cabo as the place to be. I've came out here 15 times on vacation before I decided to call it home. I did a lot of research before I moved out here. I looked into Panama, looked into Colombia, looked into several other countries, and Cabo just made the most sense. And how much does it actually cost to live in Mexico? Anywhere in Mexico, you can live comfortably $1,500 to $2,500 a month. Cabo is a different animal. It's probably going to take $4,000 minimum because you have the best weather, I think, personally, in all of the world. You have the best beaches. This place is true paradise, and you have to pay for that. I've lived out here for 4 years, and I just moved to Rolling Hills, where I'm living right now on the Pacific side, probably 6 months ago, and I absolutely love it. The weather has been perfect every day since I moved out here. And I'm only 15 minutes from downtown Cabo, and there's an extreme temperature difference of about 10 degrees. And there is no humidity out here. There is humidity out here, but you don't feel it like you do in town because you got the coastal breezes every day, and it's just like having free air conditioner every day. I think the temperature has been like 74 to 82 pretty much every day since November. It's just beautiful out here. What people get most wrong about Mexico, it's not a cheap place to live. In certain pockets of Mexico, you can live much cheaper than anywhere in the United States or Canada, but in Cabo, definitely not. Anywhere is a tourist town, it's gonna be much more expensive, if not the same, or where you're living right now. But I couldn't tell you enough about this place. This place is so amazing. The people are the best thing about it, and that's not the reason I came here. I came here for the weather. I came for the consistent weather because I wanted to live on the Pacific Ocean was number one. Number two, I wanted a place with low humidity. That was number two, because I originally was born in New York, and then I moved to Phoenix, and I spent majority of my life in Phoenix. And I love low humidity after living in Phoenix for so long. And so I wanted a coastal climate that was warm, but also low humidity. And Cabo just made the most sense. It has the lowest humidity out of any beach location in all of Mexico. What surprised me the most about the United States versus Mexico was the cost of electronics is so much cheaper in the United States and everyday goods. Anything that we import from the United States or other countries is typically 40% higher, if not 50% higher. A lot of the construction I'm using, I get from the States or from Europe, it's 50% more. So if it's $1,000 material, I'm having to spend $1,500, sometimes $1,200 to $1,500 more just to get the goods here, because I can't. I'm really picky when I come to building. I want usually the best material and the most durable and the most nicest material out there, something that's going to last long. And it's usually I have to import it because I don't really like the options out here. And that's one of the difficult things you're going to have if you're living in Cabo San Lucas is you're basically treated on an island and everything needs to be brought in. So if it's not a taco or cerveza, it needs to be imported. Cabo is different than the rest of Mexico. Although it is the 32nd state, it is the highest for electricity. It has the most, I think the most imported goods. You're going to pay the most for goods because you have to pay for transportation. And a lot of the goods you buy out here, everything needs to be shipped in. And it's not like it's in the States where you have free shipping on everything. That's not, you pay for shipping here. And shipping is expensive because gas is expensive. I think gas, the last time I checked, was $4.50 a gallon. I'm sure it's much more expensive in California. It's almost double. But in Arizona, last time I checked, it was $3.30 a gallon. But for the most part, I've checked when I first moved out here, my cost of living was about the same as Phoenix. So if you're from Phoenix or from Arizona, the cost of living is going to be about the same. And if you're coming from California, it's going to be substantially cheaper. But there's much cheaper cities in Mexico that you can live on half the budget you can for Cabo. And they're beautiful cities. I just wanted to live at a beach location. And if you don't want to live at a beach location, maybe Cabo's not the right place for you, but I'm telling you, the people here are amazing, and that's one of the best things about Cabo San Lucas. And it can be challenging living in another country. And my life was relatively easy, stress-free in Phoenix. I didn't have any problems whatsoever. Life is much more challenging here in Cabo because I have to, not only do I not speak fluid Spanish, for everyday operations like going to the bank, going to the grocery store, just getting construction material. It can be very challenging, getting the bureaucracy of getting paperwork done. It can be much more difficult than the United States. Not everything runs fluid as you're used to, and it's something you have to adapt to. You have to ask for help, and just something you have to have patience with. And patience has not always been my virtue, and it's something I work on every day. But Mexico is a beautiful country. I actually love both countries for two different reasons. I love Mexico because it seems it's very peaceful. No matter where you go, people are generally in a good mood and they're always very communicative. And the United States is very convenient. You get convenience everywhere. It's very easy to get things done. It's much harder to get things done here, but I truly love both countries. And I just wanted to experience something new, and that's the main reason why I moved. I wanted to live in a beach location off the Pacific, and California just didn't make any financial sense. So I chose Mexico, and I chose Cabo, and it just seemed to make the most sense to me. But everyone was always asking me about how much does it cost to live there? What expenses, like basically in both countries? Is it more? Is it less? Well, it's going to be less if you go anywhere else in Mexico, as I said. Cabo is going to be much more expensive, especially for electricity and water. So And a lot of people ask about it. I'm like, who's actually wins on the cost of living? I would say Mexico wins on the cost of living. It definitely wins on food, and definitely wins on things to do. But as far as cost of living, Mexico is going to be substantially cheaper. Food is going to be, who does not love Mexican food? I mean, everyone I've ever met loves Mexican food. If you're planning a family or group getaway to Cabo San Lucas, Villa Utopia is an exclusive private escape designed for connection and comfort. Just 5 minutes from downtown, the marina, dining, nightlife, and the most exclusive beaches in Cabo, Villa Utopia delivers a rare balance of location, privacy, and elevated luxury. Imagine waking up to ocean views, swimming laps in your own private 50-foot lap pool, relaxing in the jacuzzi, or gathering around your own chef's kitchen with family and friends. Secure your escape at Villa Utopia now. Click the Airbnb link below or message me on WhatsApp to reserve your dates. What risks actually were taken when people shouldn't understand? It's a big risk going to another country. It's just, it's something I felt I needed to do. Both my parents passed back to back in 2019 and 2022, and that just made the decision much more easier. My daughter was in college, and it just seemed to make the most sense. And I felt like I wasn't at home anymore, and I felt like my purpose was over. And so I always wanted to live in another country, and it made more sense as I turned over 40, and I was just like, I was seeking more in my life. But I do feel at ease here, and I do feel comfortable. Everyone you meet in town is really nice, and they're very sincere people, and I just love the people in Mexico. And even back home, I had an entire construction crew of 52 employees, all from Sinaloa, Mexico. So I'm used to being around the culture and the guys. They're easy to deal with. There's no drama. They're very calm people. So it just made the most sense. What do outsiders usually get wrong about Mexico? I think they think Mexico is such a dangerous country, and it's not. It's a very peaceful country. And, I can't tell you enough great things about it. I just love it. The people are just truly amazing. Yeah, it is realistic to live here long term. I'm probably going to live here at least a minimum of 10 years. And I eventually want to probably move to another country. I was thinking about moving to Asia sometime in the future. I want to experience other countries, and I love Mexico, and this place is my home. The weather is the most perfect weather. I thought the most perfect weather was in Phoenix until I lived in Cabo. Well, actually, I can't say that until I moved on the Pacific side of Cabo. This is the most perfect weather I've ever lived in. Year-round, it's actually, 74 to 82 degrees year-round, pretty much 12 months a year. About the visa process, if you've ever looked into it, you need, the last time I checked, it was $4,400 a month in income that you need to prove to the Mexican consulate for income. You can either do it two ways, either by income, which is $4,400 a month, or you can do show a lump sum of cash, either $78,000 for temporary status, or $90,000 plus for permanent residency. And the residency process is actually easy. I got approved within 20 minutes. I brought 12 months of bank statements. I showed my investment account at Charles Schwab. I brought 12 months of bank statements, and all they mainly care about is, do you have income? Because they don't want you to be crippled on their economy. That's why we don't have like a huge homeless problem here. We don't have government handouts like we do in the United States, and that can be good and bad. But when a lot of people in the United States, they do take advantage of that, and it's nice to get help when you need it, but it seems like community is more important and family is more important in Mexico than the United States. What I love so much about Cabo is it reminds me of what the United States was in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And my country is not the same anymore. And that's a sad truth. But I don't know. I just love my experience here. When I first moved here, finding a house was really almost next to impossible because there was only 200 homes on the market. Right now, if you're looking for a home to buy in Cabo, reach out to me because I can definitely help you. There's actually over 2,000 homes available, so the inventory is pretty busy. When I first moved here, there was nothing available. There was only 200 homes. I bought this lot immediately. I found this lot within a few weeks. I bought a half an acre overlooking the Pacific Ocean for only, they were asking 180. I got it for 162.5, and I got a steal on it. Right now, I think the lots are going for around 250,000 for about close to a half an acre. Most of the lots are oversized, but I mean, look at the view. The view today is a crappy day, but the view is actually very beautiful all the time. And that's the first thing I did was find a parcel of land that I could actually build on. And the subdivision's great because I'm a builder, and they would let me. I could build it myself with my own construction crew. I didn't have to go through the homeowners association's building, and I could do it all myself. And there was no rush to do it. And I was in a rush to do it, and I decided to buy a home because I couldn't build on this for 2 years because none of the electricity had been ran to the lot, and none of the roads had been done. So I had to wait. So I ended up buying another home that I wanted to remodel, and that was in a section called El Tizal, which is the popular place in Cabo. Most expats live, and it's a real popular section of Cabo San Lucas. The hidden costs that catch me off guard in Cabo San Lucas, probably the electricity and the water are the most expensive hidden costs. As I said, electricity is about 35% higher here than anywhere else in Mexico. My normal electricity bill is about $500 a month for our property in El Tizal. It's called Villa Utopia. It's available for vacation rentals. If you guys want to take a look at it, it's an amazing property. It sleeps 10. It's a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, and we turned it into an amazing vacation home. And because I think it's a great opportunity. I love hosting groups that want to come to Mexico, want to come to Cabo, want to experience the Baja lifestyle, and it's just a fun element to have that. Yeah, I've got friends that reach out to me all the time that want to come stay, and we've got subscribers that have reached out to me that want to come stay. So check out the property. I'll leave the link in the description box. You can check it out for yourself. We're on Airbnb, and I'm going to be opening my own website shortly, so you can check it out there as well. Do you get more space for your money? People always ask me that question. No, you actually don't. The lots here, I'm in a weird subdivision because most of the subdivision, the lots here are oversized. A lot of the homes in Cabo itself are very compact. You really don't have a big backyard like you do in the States. The lot sizes are much smaller typically, but this is why it was so appealing to me, because I was out in nature out here and the lots are oversized. They're enormous. I mean, you can grab 2 parcels if you want to make an acre, but a half an acre was more than enough for the house that I'm building. So mistakes that I've made that most expats, the mistakes that I've made since I moved to Cabo, fortunately, I haven't made too many mistakes, and I'm sure I've made some mistakes. I just can't think of any off the top of my head. Oh, just I've had a lot of problems with my HOA. You know, not here, not the one here, but the other house that I had. But the HOAs in Mexico are a little bit different. You know, I think they're all controlling no matter where you live. But I think their fees are outrageous compared to what the average wages salary is. my HOA, I'll be brutally honest, it's $3,000 a year. And that's ridiculous for a country when the average minimum wage is less than $8 a day. I don't know how they come up with that calculation. It doesn't make any sense because I've calculated all the employees' salaries and everything, and there's over 100 homes in the subdivision, and it should cost less than probably about $600 a year for HOA, and they're charging people $3,000 a year with 100 lots. It's ridiculous, but sometimes you can't fight the fight. Sometimes you just have to give in, and because it's just not worth it sometimes. I love that home, and I looked at it like it's an investment opportunity, and the market's tough right now because of the U.S. economy, because Cabo is really controlled by the U.S. economy, and when the economy is tough in the United States, it's going to be more tough in Mexico, because people usually come here it's usually their second or third home, and I'm a rarity to have their primary residence in Cabo. Most people only live here part-time. So I love it here. I wouldn't change it for a bit. I feel really stable here long-term. I love it here. I've got a great group of guys that I work with. I've got Daniela. I've got Daniela's family, and Nikki, she's my producer. She's doing all of her videos. She does an amazing job. We got her coming over for dinner, and her brother Lorenzo. He's the first time he's came to see the lot, but see the casita and the house and the construction. So I love it here in Cabo. It is truly a place to stay for the long term. My daily life, yes, I would say it's more relaxed. I ended up getting into vacation rentals because I took the home off the market because there's too many homes for sale. As I said, there's 2,000 homes for sale, and I always wanted to do a vacation rental, and I'm really good at entertaining people and hosting people, and I'm great at numbers, so I love crunching the numbers and figuring out all the algorithm and optimization on this stuff, and it's just fun to me because it's kind of like a game to me. So, but hopefully the market will cure itself fast, and the economy will be booming once again. But hopefully it happens sooner than later. So, but where is life more stressful? Everyone asks me that. Is life more stressful there? I think it's more stressful. I don't have stress. I've never had stress in a long time. It's been a while since I've been stressed, but my life wasn't stressed at all in the States, and it's not stressed here. My life is more challenging here because of the language barrier and bureaucracy, but I have no stress whatsoever. So, what hits the hardest for people? The lifestyle change, just getting stuff done. A simple task can take a half a day sometimes, and it's just mind-numbing. Like how I love Mexico, but they can complicate a peanut butter sandwich sometimes. Things that are so simple, they tend to complicate, and it's just something you got to get used to. And you got to roll with the punches, I guess. If you can't adapt, you're not gonna make it here. What do I miss most about the United States? Probably the convenience of things. I miss my sister Pat and all my nieces, and I miss my daughter Alina. I just mainly my family and the convenience of things. But life is pretty perfect out here. I can't complain. Life is not more convenient here, and that's something you're going to have to get used to. Now, if you choose to move to Mexico City, your life is going to be very convenient. Everything is at your fingertips. Cabo's, as I said, it's treated like it's on an island, even though it's not on an island. I consider it the redheaded stepchild of Mexico because it's the last to get a lot of things, even though it's probably should be the golden child of Mexico. It gets treated like the redheaded stepchild. I don't know why, because maybe it's as far off from Mexico City. Maybe because it's probably one of the most expensive states to live in Mexico. I couldn't understand that whatsoever. So Who adapts faster? You're gonna adapt well here if you have an open mind and you're willing to change and you're willing to try new things. And I'm pretty good at adapting. Daniela probably wouldn't agree. She's really good at adapting, but you have to have an open mind to live in another country. It's not always going to be peaches and cream, and you just have to just have a lot of patience for yourself. So the big misunderstanding about crime. Everyone talks about crime. Everyone asks me all the time, is it safe there? Oh my God, is it safe there? Are you okay? Are there cartels that around you? Yes, it's completely safe. I felt safer in Cabo than anywhere else in the world. And I've traveled to 30 different countries. I absolutely love Cabo. Daniela's always felt safe. I've never felt safe anywhere in the United States. Never felt unsafe anywhere in the United States. The only one place and that's really a mindset that you have to go through, because you're going to be paranoid. If someone's a paranoid person, you're going to be feeling unsafe anywhere. The only place I probably ever felt unsafe in my life was Barranquilla, Colombia. And I remembered when we went there for a vacation about a year and a half ago, and we went in the ghetto and down the wrong street. I got off the wrong exit on the freeway looking for a gas station, and we pulled down the street. It was pouring down rain, and there was probably about 150 gangsters on the side of the road just hanging out, just staring me down. And I'm just like, what the hell? Where the hell are we at? Luckily, this couple, and a couple of them had guns in their pants, I could tell. And they were looking at me like, dude, you don't belong here. And luckily this couple, this young black couple pulled me over. And because I asked them direction, they looked like they were not gonna rob us. So I asked them direction to get back on the freeway. They told me how to get back on the freeway. And they were nice enough to lead me in the right direction. And she said, I remember the wife said, you better get the hell out of here. He goes, this is not safe for you. And I said, okay, thanks for your word of advice. And we got out of there. But that's probably the only place I've ever felt unsafe. And, nothing bad about Barranquilla. I just didn't, that was probably just a bad section of town. You can get into trouble anywhere you look. It doesn't matter what country you're in. The lifestyle that hits the hardest to change, it's just dealing with, we don't have regular water here like we do in the States. Water is not pumped into your house. Like you don't get 24/7 water. We have a giant cistern that you pump water in. We have actually two cisterns, one for this casita, which is 20,000 liters, and then one for the main house, which is 50,000 liters. And so we have to have water delivered on a huge truck. And we get it probably every 3 or 4 weeks or whenever I run out of water. But the conveniences of everyday life is not always the same. It's just something you got to be patient with. Everyone talks about the internet. Is the internet bad? Home internet, we actually have Starlink out here because I'm living in the middle of nowhere, and I'm actually only 15 minutes outside of town. I don't consider it nowhere, but we have Starlink. Then the connection speed is actually really good. And we had Telmex back in town, and that was pretty phenomenal. It's 500 megabits, but the Telcel, it's pretty bad. The internet, it's very cheap. I'll tell you that, because I actually got a yearly plan for only $120 a year. It covered my phone and data for 12 months. I mean, it's $10 a month. That's ridiculous. I think back home I was paying $100 a month. But the internet, they still have most of it's 3G and 4G. So there's only certain pockets that's 5G, but the internet, yeah, it sucks sometimes on your phone, but for the home, it's relatively dependable, and it's very inexpensive. I think the home I was paying $35 a month for the internet and for Netflix too, and I think I was paying almost triple that in the States the last time I checked. what gets blown out of proportion about Mexico? Probably the media. I mean, the media blows up everything out of proportion. Anytime, there's some drama in Mexico, oh my God, this is the most terrifying country. It's filled with cartels. I've lived here almost 4 years. I've yet to find one cartel activity in Cabo. Most of them don't even hang out in Cabo because there is some activity in Mexico. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm sure there's a little in Cabo, but you don't see it. They don't want to be around tourists because that's not where they make their money. They have, the Cabo is highly protected by the Mexican government and the military because they know it's a tourist town. It's the golden goose of Mexico. So it does get a lot of protection with the military and the police. So I've always felt safe. But it gets blown up. 99% of the stuff you hear about Mexico in the U.S. media is completely lied. It's controlled by the U.S. politicians and it's controlled by the media, just like they did with COVID, because they want to manipulate your mind. They want you to spend your U.S. dollars inside their own country, and they don't want you to explore other opportunities. Because if you go to other countries, you're not going to spend your money in the United States. So it makes sense. So it's not right, but it does make sense why they would do that. So, what surprises me most about living here, I think it's the roads. The roads are probably the worst in any country I've ever been in, and they are getting better. They just actually paved the freeway the other day, which I was shocked because we have like so many potholes in town. It's something crazy. I think I've had like 25 flat tires over a period of almost 4 years. That's insane. I've had more flat tires in 4 years here than 30 years of driving, which is insane. So, but that's probably the one thing I probably bitch about too much. And that's the one thing I probably bitch about. That's the one thing I just can't deal with, and it is the roads, how bad they are, because there's usually only there's one highway in and one highway out. And that's just like, I don't understand it. There's 500,000 people here. Why do they not have 4 or 5 highways? It's insane. Every day is traffic. And we shouldn't have traffic here because there's only 500,000 people living here. But what do people not actually understand about moving to another country? If you decide to move to another country like Mexico, sell all your crap. You don't need it. You can get new stuff here. Some of the furniture I have had made here by one of my local carpenters is better than any furniture I've ever had in my entire life. Yes, it's actually going to cost a little bit more because it's not made in China by the billions. But it's the strongest furniture I've ever had. It's the most elegant furniture I've ever had, and it's going to last me probably a lifetime. And it's beautiful stuff. But you can sell all your crap. I left with everything. I brought nothing but 2 suitcases and my dog Marley. I sold everything. A 3,000 square foot house with all my furnishings, all my clothes. I just left with 2 suitcases and my dog Marley. That was about it. But it's tough to let go of stuff. But I can understand. But you don't need it. That stuff will just weigh you down, and you can get new junk. The more stuff you have, the more it weighs you down. So people say, what would I warn them about moving to another country? Just come check it out. If you've never been here on vacation, Cabo is truly a special place. And come check it out if you come out here and decide, I want to move out here, rent a place for 6 months and see if you like it. See what area you live in that you liked it. Because I knew I was going to move out here on the Pacific side. I knew it all along. But I lived in El Tizal, which is a very popular section. Everyone wants to live there. But I thought it was great the first year I was living there because it was convenient. I'm right on top of Costco. I'm right on top of Home Depot. I got a Fresco Gourmet grocery store. I can walk 2 blocks from my house. But after a while, I wanted to be out in the nature, and I didn't need to be on all the conveniences. But it's just something you gotta test the waters and see which you're gonna like first. So my best suggestion is probably rent for 6 months before moving, not only to Cabo or anywhere in Mexico or anywhere in the world. Rent a place for 6 months to a year. See what you like, what section of the city you like, because you might like it one day and then the next day you might not like it in 6 months. So, but you need to come out any place you're going to think about moving. You need to test the waters and come out on vacation for a couple times, because being here on vacation and living here are two different things. If I had to start over, what would I do differently about moving to Mexico? What would I do differently? So many different roads, because I had two avenues that I was going to choose, because I was going to either remodel that house or I was going to buy a penthouse at the Thompson Hotel in Cabo. And that was supposedly going to appreciate 30% in value. So either investment made more sense, but I wanted a challenge. So I chose to remodel that massive house and turn it into a bigger house. And I don't know if I would have changed anything. I don't know. I think I made a pretty good decisions with it. Maybe I would have picked Nikki as my architect if I knew she was doing architect earlier. But that's about it. But I can't say I made too many wrong decisions. So the final truth, actually, would I do it all over again? In a heartbeat, no question about it. I think I probably would have moved out here a little bit earlier, but I think the timing was perfect. My dad shortly passed in June of 2022. I put my house up on the market in July of 2022, and I was out of there by August 1st, 2022. I don't think I would have done anything differently. I was glad to spend the last 3 years of my life with my father. My mom had passed 3 years earlier, and he had a tough go, but without her, because they were married for 65 years, and they were an amazing couple, amazing parents. And seeing him in pain for 3 years was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to go through, was seeing my father in pain, because he was the toughest man I ever met. So, but thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about Cabo lifestyle, construction, or about real estate, this is the channel. Again, my name is James from Fearless in Cabo. Thank you so much for joining us today. You guys have an amazing day. Take care, my friends. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for all the positive comments and all the positive stories that every one of you shared with me about your experiences right here in the Baja. I think it's truly amazing that we're growing in as a community, and we need to be there for each other. I'm absolutely elated that we hit 3,000 subscribers in such a short time period, less than 4 months. Fearless in Cabo, it isn't just about my journey. It's a part of who I am. Your support helps us keep creating what truly matters. If this inspires you, support us on Ko-Fi. Would mean the world to me. God bless you all. We wish you nothing but the best in life. Take care, my friends.